All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be taking a look at life settlements.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, and we've got this whole stack of research here that we got from Diversified Insurance Brokers, and
Really interesting stuff.
yeah, it is. And I think that, when we talk about life settlements, I think that this is something that a lot of people probably haven't even heard of before.
No, I would imagine not.
So let's just start with the basics, okay?
Okay.
What is a life settlement?
So a life settlement is essentially like selling your life insurance policy
Okay.
to a third party for a lump sum of cash.
Hmm.
Now, that lump sum of cash is going to be more than the surrender value that you'd get back from the insurance company,
Right.
but less than the death benefit that your beneficiaries would receive.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit more because, like I said, I don't think a lot of people listening have really even heard of this before.
Sure.
So you've got a life insurance policy,
Yeah.
right? You've been paying into it. It's something that's supposed to help your family out, if something happens to you.
Right.
But maybe your circumstances have changed, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you're getting close to retirement. Maybe you've got some unexpected costs that have popped up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're just thinking, you know what? I don't really need this policy as much anymore.
Right.
So a life settlement allows you to basically sell that policy,
Yep.
get some money for it right now.
That's right.
But who's buying this?
That's a good question.
Like, who's on the other end of this?
So it's investors, typically investors who are looking for, unique investment opportunities.
Okay.
And essentially they're taking over the premium payments.
Okay.
And they're kind of betting that they'll profit from the difference between what they paid for the policy and the eventual death benefit.
So it's kind of like they're making an investment.
Exactly. It's like an unusual investment.
Right.
It is a very unusual investment.
But it's an investment nonetheless.
It is an investment. And they have very specific criteria for what they're looking for.
What is it?
So generally, they like to see policies held by people who are 65 or older.
Okay.
And they tend to be more interested in universal whole life or convertible term life insurance.
Why those?
Because those are the types of policies that have cash value built in.
I see.
The death benefit needs to be significant.
Okay. How significant are we talking?
Typically over $100,000.
Okay. So it's got to be a pretty substantial policy.
It does, yeah.
For them to even consider it.
Right, for it to make sense for the investor.
So for someone who's listening to this right now and they're thinking, well, I'm getting up there in years.
Yeah.
Maybe this is something I should look into.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the advantages to doing a life settlement?
Well, one of the biggest ones is immediate liquidity.
Okay.
So instead of that policy just sitting there, you're unlocking its value and you're getting, a significant influx of cash.
Okay.
That can be used for a variety of purposes.
What are people using this money for?
I've seen people use it for everything from, funding long-term care
Wow.
to making a down payment on a dream vacation home.
So, I mean, this is real money.
It is real money.
That can make a real difference in someone's life.
Absolutely.
Now, we've been talking about life settlements, but there's also this thing called a Viatical settlement.
Yeah, that's a very specific type of life settlement.
Okay.
And it's specifically for individuals who have been diagnosed with a serious or terminal illness.
Okay. So even more specific than just, being older.
Exactly.
You have to be facing, a serious health issue.
Right.
So how does a Viatical settlement differ from just a regular life settlement?
Well, it functions very similarly.
Okay.
But the payouts tend to be higher.
Okay.
Because the time frame for the investor to receive the death benefit is shorter.
Right. So it's a higher risk for the investor.
It is a higher risk.
Particularly higher reward, but it also could provide, someone who is facing, significant medical expenses, maybe end-of-life care, with a way to, get those bills paid.
Exactly. It can be a real lifeline for people in a very difficult situation.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, we've been talking about a lot of positives here. But like with any financial decision,
of course,
there are some risks to consider, right?
Absolutely. The most important thing to remember, I think, is that when you sell your policy, you are giving up that death benefit for your beneficiaries.
Right.
So you need to think long and hard about, whether or not that's the right decision for your family.
And are there any tax implications that people should be aware of?
There can be.
Okay.
It depends on how much you receive from the sale.
So this is definitely not a decision to be made lightly.
No, it's not. You really need to do your research.
Right. And that's where working with a company like Diversified Insurance Brokers comes in.
Absolutely.
They can help you weigh the pros and cons,
Like,
and
yeah.
walk you through the process, make sure you understand, any potential tax implications.
Yeah, and really make sure that this is the right decision for you.
Right. So just to kind of wrap things up here,
Okay.
It sounds like life settlements can be a really valuable tool.
They can.
For the right person.
For the right person.
But it's not something to jump into without doing your research and seeking expert advice.
I completely agree.
So I want to leave our listeners with a question.
Okay.
Would you ever consider selling your life insurance policy? What factors would you weigh most heavily in your decision?
Yeah, that's a really good question to think about.
Yeah, it's something to ponder. And if you are thinking about this, or if you just want to learn more,
Yeah.
reach out to Diversified Insurance Brokers.
They're the experts.
They can answer your questions, and they can give you personalized guidance.
Based on your own situation.
Yeah. And with that, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening, everybody.